stop your car from being stolen, you need to have this.
These cars are actually making way to Russia as a complete car or as parts.
45 Ferraris in the last 6 weeks.
These guys are much smarter than we think.
Look, jammer there, bruv.
Can you believe Rolls-Royce will ban their customers for life if they flip the Spectre?
If you got a Urus 10/6 with a 1016 body kit, it's going to be worth
50 grand extra.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 3 of the GVE podcast. Today we have a really hot topic that we are going to discuss, and that is stolen cars. It's been a massive issue in the last few months in the supercar industry. It's always been an issue within the Range Rover side of the market, but now these thieves are hitting Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces. So today I'm being joined by Ozzy, George and Anthony. Anthony, I'm going to get straight onto it. You were on the phone today with an insurer. What are they saying?
Yeah, so basically I was, so a couple of weeks ago, I sold an 812 GTS and the gentleman wanted me to help him to get insurance. So I put him in touch with one of our brokers, and we're not struggling to get him insurance, but they will only insure him if the car is now parked in a secure car park behind gates. So whether it's underground car park or in a place where it's behind gates. And in the end, and I was speaking to the broker this morning, and he's giving me some crazy stats. We're talking nearly 45 Ferraris in the last 6 weeks.
Not
been
Ferraris
stolen
alone,
for Ferraris in general. 45 Ferraris in general in the last 6 weeks.
Is there specific models?
It's all over. We're
others?
talking everything. Pistas were a big thing. I think a lot of people were targeting pistas. A lot of thieves were targeting pistas, but in general, just Ferraris in general.
So 1 second, Ozzy, why all of a sudden is this happening? Because I don't know, George, how long have we been doing this for? 10 years.
Hearing about it
10 years,
a lot.
Ferraris, right? And in those 10 years, I don't think neither of us have ever had anything.
When it comes to supercars, people are always more careful about stealing those, because I think those always come with mobilizers and trackers, and it's a lot easier to track down. But recently we found, and just coming back to your point as well, it must be the more keyless entry cars that are getting targeted. So the Pistas, the GTSs, and the funny thing is, I don't know if this is a fact, but there was a recent data breach where Ferrari leaked a load of codes, and they had to send out an email apologizing to all their customers, saying, sorry, GDPR, someone's had access and hacked into our systems. And then ever since that happened, I've heard this through the grapevine that they managed to get a load of codes, and they were able to hack into keyless entries and put jammers in place where their mobilizers wouldn't work on cars. Right. I mean, when you think about it, have you ever really heard of 200, 300,000 pounds getting stolen that are non-Range Rovers or cars that you can just, they're not the most...
Unless somebody's got a gun to your head and says, give me your key.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anything like this before.
Even then, they're some of the most easiest cars to track down. Like they look like nothing else. They're probably the easiest cars to spot.
Very unique in terms of spec, colour. They're one-offs nearly. Most of these cars are one-offs in their spec. So
people used to say, like, are you not scared leaving your car parked around? And always the first thing that came into my head was thinking, this is the last car someone would want to steal. They're not going to want to steal a supercar. No one wants to steal a supercar.
With white wheels.
White wheels, yeah.
Ozzy. So, from a technical aspect, how is it that suddenly these Ferraris are getting nicked?
So as George mentioned, something within the past 6 to 8 weeks has happened where the thieves now have access to the keyless systems in the Ferraris. Because like you said, we haven't seen this before. I mean, 458s and stuff have been out for years. And especially the Pistas 488s and stuff.
Somebody was saying something about near the front lights. They connect something near the front lights. Have you guys heard that? Or not?
I haven't heard that in the Ferraris, but what is happening in the general across all car brands is they can get into the CAN network, and once they're in, they can open doors and
what's the CAN network?
So it is like the communication protocols that vehicles use, and all the systems are linked. So let's say your door locks and your ECU, So it's just like when the malware's in, they can control all your control modules.
So, question is, do they have? Does it take a lot of planning? I know you only know so much.
Yeah.
But is it a case of a thief finds a 488 pista on a road in London, and then goes there first, works out what the coding is, and clones a key or whatever you call it, and then comes back the next day and then steals it in 60 seconds? Because that's what we're seeing right now, right? That cars, the thieves don't sit around there like on a computer and park up next to it, right?
60 seconds. Gone in
It's
60
just
seconds.
gone in
60 seconds.
Exactly. We've all seen the viral video of the 812, I think. It's in central London. Two guys pull up on a moped. They were the laptop there for a couple, maybe not even a minute. There's a viral video going around, and then boom, he opens the door. One of them gets in it. One of the mopeds go that way. Car goes that way, and it's gone.
So they're not even having to come before.
They're not even scouting the cars anymore. It's just they see the car, bang, 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 and it's gone.
And so now, once in that car, now I remember you saying there was a video that went viral.
Yeah.
Of the thief in a Ferrari, and he's filming himself.
Yep.
And James, I think it's a good idea to show the audience the one that we're talking about. But he's driving around in his Ferrari, and he's then he points to his passenger seat and says, "I've got a jammer." Right. So explain to people what a jammer is.
So as you know, all these expensive cars, the cars that we deal in, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, etc., you have trackers on them, or you have immobilizers, your Pandoras, your Ghosts, etc. So what he's pointing to on the seat is a tracker jammer. So it will jam the GPS signal coming out of the tracker. So even if you have a tracker now, your car won't be giving out the signal and it can't be located. So it can go anywhere in the world and you won't have a clue, because effectively your GPS is now ineffective.
So, sorry, really quick one.
Yeah.
These cars have immobilizers, right?
They have factory immobilizers, yes.
So an immobilizer normally works in a way that someone can just completely kill the engine. Am I right in saying that?
Correct. With the factory immobilizer, it works with the key. They have a chip that communicates with the vehicle. If them two don't communicate, it won't run. It will start and then turn off. Now with the aftermarket stuff like your Pandoras and other stuff where you can control it from your phone, you can kill the vehicle. However, with these trackers, if the vehicle can't send the communication signal out, it's pretty much pointless. Your immobilizer is out of the game. It's doing nothing.
Okay. I think we work quite closely with a company called Tracker, right?
Correct, yeah.
And I believe that you were speaking to one of their representatives the other day, and they said, what did they say?
So they've got a new tracker system where they don't rely on just GPS signal. They rely on something called a VHF signal. And this cannot be blocked by the jammers, and this is quoted by Tracker themselves. So with these trackers now, even if they have a jammer inside the vehicle, there's a secondary signal that will help locate the vehicle in case of theft.
Didn't they quote something like a 97% location rate?
Really?
So
Yeah. Like
they
something
work
ridiculous.
with authorities,
And they were able to recover the cars within the first 60 minutes, within the first hour.
Wow.
On all cars.
So although technology for thieves, and they're becoming a lot more sophisticated with the way they steal cars, but I think the tracker companies or the security companies are also catching up. They're fighting back big 100%. Time. I mean, to quote a 97%, succession rate is just crazy now.
Look, I think it's just so crazy what's happening over the last. It's not over the last couple of months, really, is it? It's over the last few years in London. You know, anybody with a decent watch is now thinking about it twice. Do I wear it? Don't I wear it? Am I better off with an Apple Watch?
Yeah. People are deciding not to come to the UK. I'm sure tourism levels have fallen low. So you used to find a lot of people from the Middle East, people from the States, used to come over here and spend their summers here. But I think other people in the retail game as well, they're saying that this has fallen. They're seeing a drop in the amount of people wanting to come to this country with their nice cars. And I mean, that video with the Chiron guy had a hammer smashing the window with his RM. Got stolen. That was insane.
No, but they didn't get to him, right? They were trying to get his RM.
I don't think his window smashed.
His window smashed.
He's got 1,500 brake horsepower. Who's going to get to that?
But in traffic, you can only do so much with 1,500, eh? And
you need to make a flying car next.
Well, I have to say, one of my friends, had a Speciale Aperta, lived around St John's Wood. They got him out of the car
Really?
and stole his watch. And it's just like then he decided to change into a different Ferrari, hoping that it wouldn't happen again, and it happened again.
Twice.
That's
Twice.
crazy.
Wow.
Do you know, I've always thought, if you're in that situation and someone's coming side by side to you with a moped, let's say you're in your 200, 300,000 pound car, would you risk smashing the cars around you to get away? Or would you just put the window down and be like, take it?
You know what it is? And then the other thing is that the law can be a pretty crazy thing, right?
Yeah, it can be
What
difficult.
if you say, okay, do you know what? I just want to get away and I'm going to hit this guy in order to get away, right? And suddenly then you get done.
Yeah.
You get done. That
Yeah.
guy dies or something like that, and you
Manslaughter.
you get done. And all you're trying to do is protect yourself.
What would be pretty cool is because I was thinking evidence is a big thing, but not enough people really use dash cams. Cameras on your car to actually record everything that's going on, because if the guys come to you with a gun or with a knife, surely then you have evidence of self-defense. That's why you're trying to get away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Someone was saying the other day that if someone breaks into your house, you can't use a gun even though you have a gun license,
Oh my God.
unless you can prove
Yeah.
that it was
Can't
for
use excessive
self-defense.
force.
Unless you can prove that it's for self-defense. So
Yeah,
cameras.
that's
So, and then it gets onto the point that your life was in danger. That's why you had to use something.
Yeah.
But that's a subjective thing, isn't it? What was your life actually in danger? Wasn't it in danger? And yeah, it's just nuts. But look, I think the key thing is preventative, right?
Yeah.
You can't suddenly say I'm not going to drive a Ferrari anymore. You have to just work out what are the best ways. And like one we touched upon, we work with Tracker really
Tracker,
closely, and they're implementing new technology.
Correct.
If you live in London and your car's parked out on the street, what would you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's going to primitive times, but would you recommend like a steering lock?
I would say Ghost. A Ghost has always been a really strong way.
So in
of-
addition
of-
to the Tracker?
yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. I think it's sometimes really annoying to have to put a code in
Yeah. Look,
that.
I think I've heard that plenty of times, and I know people where they've gone through their house gates.
Yeah.
Remember that there was an overfinch that we sold, and they went through the house
No
gates,
way. Yeah, yeah.
and he had a steering wheel lock on it, and they managed to get through the steering wheel lock and the gates and left within a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's not too hard. That's why if you have a tracker, which is different to an immobilizer like a Ghost, we recommend combination of the both, which is the most secure.
Yeah.
So you've got your tracking ability if it does get nicked, and then you also have the ability to just disable the vehicle without the correct code.
So
Basically.
I've always thought this, and that's actually a good time to ask that.
Yeah.
I've seen someone go into a Range Rover by drilling a hole in the back and then somehow connecting some wires. Does that bypass any security system, including Ghosts and trackers?
It doesn't bypass trackers and Ghost. However, it does bypass the factory system, which allows you to enter into the vehicle. So what you're talking about on the boot, there's a certain area which you will see on the internet. They cut a hole and they connect the wiring for I believe it's cam wiring. I need to look into it. And the doors are open. Then they have a secondary device that plugs into the OBD port with a Range Rover key that's signal to it, and it basically reprograms your car to that key.
Wow.
And then it's gone.
Well, actually, Bruce mentioned one thing. He's like, why don't you just any car that's keyless, switch off the keyless?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We recommend it on Range Rovers. I done it on my own personal car, on my Audi.
Yeah.
Disable keyless. You have to unlock it every time.
Yeah.
How do you
just open the
disable
door.
keyless?
So it's a process that you can do through diagnostics machines and coding.
Oh, okay. It's not something you can do yourself.
You can do it to an extent on some vehicles, like for Audis, Volkswagens, etc. You can buy a kit. It's like a little computer. You plug it in from your phone. But for the more luxurious, more expensive cars, there is a way that we can do it with our devices.
So, and going back to the Range Rovers,
Yeah.
how long have Range Rovers been stolen, like on the large scale? We're
I
talking
think since
few years, right? At
I
least.
think it's always been a
From the
problem
start.
with
So
Land
do we
Rover.
not stop and say, call out Land Rover and say, hold on a minute?
100%.
They've produced probably since in the first new Range Rover, so I'm going back 2015, they've probably done 3 models since then, and all of them have got the same problem, right?
Yeah.
And so why aren't they doing anything to prevent this?
They know they have a problem.
Extremely wealthy people,
In the lot,
and they've called and they've said, can you help me get insurance? Because my last Range Rover got nicked, and now the insurance company are refusing to insure me, and like the guys in Marylebone or something like that. And
that's it. Anywhere within the M25, if you've got a Range Rover, it's going to be either very difficult to get insured or too expensive.
So have you guys got any examples of what the insurance premium's been on a couple of guys'
Many
cars?
examples.
I could talk
Insane.
about,
We're talking
Insane.
15,000 plus within
Minimum. Minimum
Really?
15,000.
I've heard 18,000.
If they're willing.
The friend of yours that you put me in touch with, his Range Rover got nicked. He wanted to buy a new Range Rover from us. We found him one. We got him an insurance quote, and the cheapest quote he had was £18,500. So now he's had to, even though he's had Range Rover all his life, he's had 5 or 6 models. He's now had to go back and buy a BMW because similar value, similar size of a Range Rover, does all the same bits of a Range Rover, but he's had to buy a BMW only because of the insurance.
And his insurance is probably like $1,000 or
it went back to what a couple of grand, what you would expect on a car, on a $100,000 car.
Crazy.
Which is crazy.
We've had this it's the wife of a footballer who's had a Land Rover nicked from her house, and she was just struggling with insurance, couldn't get insurance. Even the courtesy car that was being sent out to her, they weren't allowed to send a Land Rover because her insurance wasn't allowing it.
So for parts, they are chopping some cars, like the pistas and stuff that was going missing. Few of them got recovered, and few of them have just disappeared into thin air. And we think that they have been gone for parts because they are getting to that age where it's difficult to get parts, and main dealer pricing is very, very expensive. Especially like in Russia recently, they can't get their hands on any supercars because of the whole war.
Yeah.
And so speculation is that these cars are actually making way to Russia.
From Tracker.
Which
Tracker
is-
said that a lot of these cars are
insane.
heading out to Russia.
To Russia?
Yeah.
What, for spare parts or just as
Both.
a whole? What I don't get is that if you steal a car, you take it to the port. I thought that there's enough security at the port to stop the car getting on into a container. Like they normally have to check the V5. They normally have to check that it's not registered as stolen.
The
But
official
the-
process is like exactly
but
how
there
you
must
mentioned.
be dodgy people at the port then.
There's, I think, some pinkies.
Ah.
Well, I guess if the car gets there quick enough before it's reported stolen, maybe as well. That's another way of doing
Yeah,
it.
100%.
So a lot of these, a lot of these thieves, they act within a certain window time frame where the car gets stolen and it has to go straight to the port and straight onto that boat before anyone realizes that it's gone missing.
Long gone are the days where you had dumb thieves, right? They're highly sophisticated now. They're probably using a lot of proper technology, AI, maybe even.
I mean, the money involved now is at another level, right? So the game's just evolved, and they're professionals. They're professional
100%, I would
thieves.
say they're professionals. They're using cutthroat technology to take these cars in seconds.
Well, there's a problem when you're walking down Belgravia or Knightsbridge and stuff, and the people that live there have steering wheel locks on their brand new Range Rovers. You're like, bloody hell, man. Something's not right down there. Okay, so I think that is it for stolen cars. Let's get on to market updates. There's been quite a lot going on in the market recently.
And we're having more inquiries on things like the 458 Speciales. The figures on actual 458 Speciales have dropped in comparison to how many they were up for sale last year in comparison to now. So while everything else is falling in the market, there's still certain cars that are still going up. SVJ Roadsters, we've got one coming into stock, which is north of 500,000. And that was insane to think that in a market where things are falling, that's still going for a top premium of what it's been.
Okay, and like manufacturers are now coming out with their latest models. We know about the Lambo, the new V12 replacement, and that's like a limited run on that, right? Is it quite limited?
I think it's a limited production run, but the problem with manufacturers is they all look out for themselves. So they'll say initially that, okay, this is only going to be produced for a year, so make sure you go in for it, and then next thing you know, there's already discussions of them making an S and then a Roadster variant of the S.
Okay.
So the whole big thing about the Revuelto is that there's no Roadster variant of it. This is going to be like big singing and one last final addition to the V12 that they're doing, or V12 hybrid.
Having said that, do you think that that's going to be the Aventador replacement, or I feel like it's a bit of a stopgap? I feel like they've got another trick up their sleeve and they're not letting people in, because Lamborghini London, I was saying that they've got maybe they're going to get 2 cars next year, 2 Revueltos next year.
So the Revuelto and the S.
Crazy in terms of. So
No
I feel
way.
like there might be something else coming straight after it. They're not making a Roadster, and they're making such small numbers. I feel like there has to be a replacement or something coming soon after.
Yeah, I think for them to release an S that quick is not going to do themselves any favors. But one thing as well is that where the delays were in place with Lamborghini and the factory closing during COVID, they're catching up. They're catching up with all of their cars. So people are getting their Technicas on time. STOs are sort of piling up. We're being offered STOs for close to list.
Are the Urus Performantes coming through now?
Urus Performantes are coming, but some bits are missing. So the carbon bonnet orders are getting delayed. The carbon roof orders are getting delayed. But there's so many S's that are coming out there because not many people spec'd a lot of carbon on that. It's interesting to find out why there's carbon delays. But I think that issue of Lambo releasing a car very soon after the Revuelto, I'd be very surprised if they bring out 2 next year. I think they may announce it, but they can't come out that quick because their production's just flying off at the moment.
Yeah.
We've got Revuelto coming in December, and that's super early.
That's exciting. Okay, and then you've got this news about Rolls-Royce warning their customers that if they flip their Rolls-Royce Spectre for profit, then
it was an article I was reading the other day, and it was targeted mainly towards the American market, but they said any customer who buys a Spectre and they're found out to have flipped the car, so when saying flip, mean they buy it and sell it for a profit, they will get blacklisted for life. They're not allowed to buy a car. Now, I think we know that's a common thing across all manufacturers. They don't want people buying cars and selling it on. But I think now to hear that they're targeting the American market for it with something like the Spectre, which is an all-electric Rolls-Royce model, that has to be a sign that the electric Rolls-Royce is going to do good worldwide. Really good.
Well, they've been working on it for how many years now?
Yeah. I mean, the Wraith has been going for since 2014 till 2022, 2023, we've seen Wraiths. So that's a long stint. That's almost 10 years they've been making that one model, albeit, with facelifts in between. But now to change that and replace it with something else.
It's quite exciting.
So, when are they coming out, the Spectres?
They're pretty much released. I think people will start taking delivery towards the end of the year. They said summer, but yeah.
Okay. What's happening in GVE at the moment? So next week, we're going to find ourselves at Goodwood, right?
It's exciting times.
Yeah, so it's a big stand once again near the Lamborghini stand. We've had a few partners that are joining us this year, right? So
I think
1016.
Yeah, that's probably going to be our headline sponsor. They make some awesome kits, and I'm sure some of the guys out there watching would have heard of RDBLA. They're probably one of the biggest customizers in America in terms of making cars for celebrities, and they solely use 1016 kits.
Really?
Solely. Well, from what I've seen from all of their products, the guy who owns RDBLA has 1016 on all of his cars.
Oh, wow.
So they must have some form of a partnership there. But
and we've sold a few 1016 already, right?
we do really well with 1016 on the Uruses especially.
Going back, the American market is always a bit different to the UK market, but I do feel like we're a bit behind when it comes to customizing supercars, specifically. Sorry. So I think give it a couple of years. I think it's going to be a big thing in the UK because we're always a couple of years behind in terms of what people are doing or the trends, car trends in the US.
Exactly that.
But I think give it a couple of years and 1016 is going to be huge in the UK, definitely.
Yeah, I mean they're already big in terms of establishing their kit on the Urus, but one thing that we need to do going forward is maybe stuff like Cullinan's, where it's so big in America that most people who buy a Cullinan will want to put a kit on there. I think if we bring that to the UK, and we are the ones who are now showing customers by having these demo cars and saying, look at this Cullinan with a kit, it stands out. It looks subtly modified, if there's a way of saying that, because you don't really want it to look non-factory. And I think what 1016 have done is done like really subtle accents, but still kept that aggressive look there. So Yeah, that's pretty exciting. And something like the one that I was really interested by was the Performante.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking Lamborghini themselves have already gone and modified their base model, the Huracan, to create the Performante. What can you really do to make that look any better? They've put everything all the way from ALA design to the aerodynamics and everything else to make sure that car's perfected. But 1016 have gone and developed their kits, made sure that the aerodynamics that Lamborghini have done from factory fit within their kits, so that all of the active aerodynamics still work, and are in fact bettered with their kits. They still use the same forged carbon design for the Performante, so anything that you'll find from factory with the carbon, from the spoiler to the interior, still matches their kits, which once again fits in with the whole thing that it looks factory but still looks modified at the same time.
It's like an OEM plus modification.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything all flows together.
And it
carbon
looks,
fiber.
it looks out of this world.
The way that I see it, right, is especially tying in with what we've been speaking about a lot lately, which is, you know, interest rates going up and people's finance repayments. If they want to switch over from this car to that car, then their finance repayments are going to be a lot more, right? Well, actually, why would you need to switch your car? Let's say if you own a Perth,
Yeah.
right, and you fancy a bit of a change, well, actually, get a body
Switch
kit
it
on
up.
it, right?
It's true.
But also, doesn't it, in a way as well, it adds value to the car, right?
Of course it does.
Correct.
You know, if you've got a Urus, 10.6 with a 1016 body kit, it's going to be worth,
1 billion %.
what are we saying,
Right.
40,000 over a...
I think it's subjective to the market, and that's the amazing thing about a body kit. So right now, while the Urus S and the Urus Performante is coming out, we're seeing an abundance of Uruses come. However, if the average value of your Urus, the non-S or non-Perf, is 200,000, a body kit, a 1016 kit on that car right now would be 50 grand extra.
And also, it differentiates your car from all the other ones on the market.
Yeah.
Where there's a sea of Uruses at the moment on Auto Trader.
Exactly
You've
that.
got a 1016 one, and you'll probably be one of maybe one on Auto Trader, or two, or a couple, or a handful with those kits on it. So that definitely, it definitely helps in that sense as well.
Puts it in the spotlight, definitely. when
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
selling it.
The funny thing is as well, not funny, but the interesting thing is lenders are now seeing the benefits of body kits. So a lot of people would tend to think if they use a balloon on their finance package, are the residuals going to take into consideration the fact that you've got a body kit on the car? So with a residual, it's like a final balloon figure that's at the end. They now value modifications on the car. So we've done another kit, G63, that was sold, and I was a bit worried about the balloon, thinking, okay, the car should be about £180,000.
What kit did it have on it?
An urban kit.
Okay.
So the car should have been about £170,000, and with the kit on there, the true value is 190. We sold it for 190, but the lenders don't always see the value of the kit. So when you get a balloon back, you'll get the balloon based on the stock value, which is 170. But recently, I've been seeing that they do take this into consideration. So
Yeah, especially with a company like Urban that in the UK have established themselves
yeah,
quite well, right? Where they've got a lot of stuff on the market at any given time. So then it is easy to see what the true value of
Yeah,
it would
you
be
can
as well.
you can see exactly that. You can see that uplift on the market. So it's good that the finance companies are definitely taking
100%. But the important thing is there's a lot of these carbon copy kits out there as well.
No way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you can buy a kit for as cheap as a couple of grand to stick on your car. Now, it's not good for your car to be having kits like that on there because they're probably going to snap, crack.
They don't fit.
Ozzy, you'd probably know better than
We've
this.
seen so many of them. They don't fit. We see them on McLarens. They put the spoilers, and you have to cut the engine cover to fit them, and it rubs against the bodywork. It destroys the carbon, the paintwork. It vibrates, causes a whole load of headaches. We've seen plenty of them.
But people are surely just trying to mirror the idea that you buy these proper kits, the 1016s, the Urbans, and it ups your value massively.
That's what
So
trying
they're
to mirror
thinking, if
on
I
the
can
budget,
get
yeah.
one, for like a fraction of the cost, am I still able to sell my car for that much? Which is why, that if someone is thinking about buying a body kit car, be really careful. Make sure you've seen the original invoices. Make sure, that there is an original kit on the car, because there are some really good carbon copy ones, but they're not going to last. They are not true.
So we went off on a bit of a tangent. We were talking about Goodwood, and so I think This is like our 9th time that we're doing it. What else can people expect from us in Goodwood is the question. So we're displaying some amazing cars that we're going to be converting to 1016 body kits. We're taking a couple of hypercars there. We're taking some really special supercars. Tell me what else.
We've got Tracker coming down as well as we discussed about security on cars. It'd be really cool to come down and have a chat with them, speak yourselves and find out how your cars could be more secure. Auto guard coming down, so warranties warranties are really important to have on your supercars, as everyone knows, can be expensive, so it's always good. I think the number one question people ask is what is covered by a warranty, so no one better to ask directly than the warranty company. And I think there's a few other sponsors, but the one thing I love about Festival of Speed is just this sense of aura that if you love cars, you love anything to do with engines, that is the place to be. You go from one place and you can hear the track and the hill and cars climbing up, and then you hear jets flying past you, and you've got Lamborghini releasing their latest car over there, you've got Ferrari releasing another car, and Porsche celebrating something. It is just an insane show to be at, and there's a reason why this is deemed to be the best motoring show in the world, competing against the likes of SEMA in Vegas, competing against Geneva International Motor Show when it was running. It is...
Well, it's much better than that, right?
100%.
When you think about it. It's a lot more fun, and it's there's just so much stuff going on, and that's why people come out there and they decide that they're going to stay there for a couple of days, because one day is just not enough to go through everything.
Cannot see it in a day. No way.
Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please do like our channel and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.